this time, we ask that you please direct your attention to the field as we honor the Alzheimer's Association.
Bill was he was a scientist for a large pharmaceutical firm here in Richmond, and in that capacity, he discovered or invented a delivery system for one of the inhalants.
I have a patent or a record of invention for a CFC-free solution for pulmonary delivery devices.
It was a career milestone for him, and he had based his life's work, his thesis, on that. And when he went to defend it, he forgot how he did it, and that's when we realized something was very wrong. That's when we first heard the term Alzheimer's, and it changed things forever. When Bill was diagnosed, the doctor said, you know, you can make a difference with this. You can find a voice, and you can live with this disease just as well as die from it. And Bill said that day that he wanted to make as big a difference as he could for as long as he could. And one of the things that he did was he became a member of the Alzheimer's Early Onset Board, and he spoke before the Social Security Administration. He was a tester for some of the GPS devices for people who wander, and was able to bring to market some of those devices.
With this pocket-sized receiver, families can track patients and for the first time be alerted whenever a patient strays too far.
It's him being safe and me knowing that he's safe. The Alzheimer's Association has a number of things that they can offer. They can offer hope, and they can offer comfort and relief and respite and a sense of community and a sense of caring. We belong to a younger onset group. We share a lot of the same stories and a lot of the same experiences. We kind of know what to expect. It's interesting to be able to exchange tips and experiences with other people. Bill is living in an assisted living facility now. Since the last time we talked, there have been a lot of changes in our lives. One of the biggest things is that we realized I was not able to take care of Bill at home. His condition got to the point where he needed more care than I was capable of giving him. And we were able to deal with it through medication for several years, and then medication could no longer handle it. So with the help of our doctor, we were able to find a facility that was perfect for both of us. And they were able to work with our schedule. Bill had certain criteria, and some of the criteria was very sweet, so it was funny. They had to take the cat. They had to take Steve, so Steve is there with them. They had to allow him to walk, and Bill's able to walk. And he also had to have his beer in the evening, so he's allowed to have a beer with his meal. So it worked out very well. He's very happy there. The adjustment was hard for me. I had a hard time because I wanted to be the same person I was when he was here. So for the first about a month, I wanted to be there every night. I wanted to be there every morning. I wanted to make sure they were feeding him properly. And it exhausted me. It was not a good situation at all. And one of the nicest things was the Alzheimer's Association here, the chapter here. They were very, very helpful and very gentle in helping me understand that that's not why someone's in an assisted living facility. They have a very structured routine and activities, and it's a very reliable schedule. There's a lunch bunch that he belongs to, and he goes to wonderful places for lunch. There have been times when I've called and he said, yeah, could you call me back, because they're right in the middle of bingo and I'm playing. And then I said, oh, of course, that's not a problem. And there was another time where he said, we're getting ready to get on the bus. You're going to need to call me back later. So and to me, that's very, very, very reassuring. I want him to be busy. I want him to be, it's not a good time. You need to call me back later. When Bill stopped working, he still needed something to be productive. He adopted his little piece of the highway. He kept it pristine. And when he went into the assisted living, he realized that was something he wasn't going to be able to do, and he still had all the accoutrements that go along with it. He also had the sign at the beginning and at the end of his little stretch of highway. And we would drive by it, and he would see it, and he goes, I would like that sign. I would like to remember that I did that. I would really like that sign. So as Christmas was coming soon, and I thought, I could get that sign. And he has that sign, and it is in his room. Good morning. I'm Kitty Kennedy, and thank you for taking the time to join us today at this very convenient hour. Let me begin first by saying that Bill and I are not that special. We are two faces and one story of Alzheimer's. There are many, many more. We are not that special. Okay, what you saw in this video is actually about almost 2 years worth of our story. And for me, sitting here watching it, it was actually kind of bittersweet because it represents 2 years of our journey. And what was interesting and kind of bittersweet was it showed shots of our house. And it reminded me of, Bill and I were high school sweethearts, that we found each other again 30 years later. And at age 50, here we were newlyweds, planning a house together. And at age 50, you plan things a little differently than you would when you're really young. And we thought we were really smart. We planned like uncased doorways in case, as we were getting older, we needed wheelchairs, which sometimes you may. And we planned adaptable furniture in case we needed to move it. The back way of our house can accommodate a ramp. We're pretty smart. What we didn't plan for was dementia. We didn't know to plan for that. But there you go. We had dementia. And what we didn't plan for was for me to be a spokesperson. But here I am. I'm a spokesperson. When we agreed to do the ABC News story about the GPS tracking device, I had to obtain permission from my office because I work for the government and I work close to the governor's office. So I had to get permission to have a film crew at my office. It was interesting because I really hadn't told anybody in my office that my husband had dementia. It's not an icebreaker. You don't go up and say, hey, did I tell you that my husband has dementia? So I hadn't told anybody. I don't know that I was ashamed of it. It just isn't something you share with people on a day-to-day basis. So I did get permission very quickly, and the film crew came and filmed on a weekend. So there were only a few people that knew anyway. It was fine, and nobody else needed to know. That was fine. It aired on a Wednesday evening on ABC Nightly News. What I didn't expect was on Thursday morning, there was a line of people snaking around my office and down the hall to talk to me, not about the ABC Nightly News feature. They wanted to talk to me about their loved one, their husband, their wife, their sister, their brother, who had dementia, and they wanted help, and they wanted to know what they could do, how they could get help. It was a very, very sobering, enlightening moment for me. You saw in the video the sign and the highway that Bill adopted. Well, there's a backstory to that too. Because I told you that I work for the government. And at our holiday gathering last year, I was amusing just a few of my coworkers. We were talking about that sign, and I was telling them how I had been trying to talk my next door neighbor into taking that sign. And I had been trying to talk my neighbor, because he was the guy, into going and taking the sign, and I said, just go and take it. And my neighbor, who is a very nice man, said, I know, let's go and ask Vida. And then if they say no, I'll take it. And I said, dude, do you want to just give them the address so that they can come and arrest you? everybody in my little circle was laughing. What I didn't realize is that my boss heard us, which was great. So 2 days later, in my office, my boss is standing there with the Santa Claus hat on, and he's got a package. And I unwrap the package, and it's this. I'll show you. I don't know if you can all see it. Okay. So I think my reaction was appropriate. I started to cry. First of all, I was embarrassed. Second of all, I don't know what I thought. I thought my boss went and took it? I don't know. My boss had recently lost his father to dementia, so I guess maybe I did think he took it. I don't know. And he said, Kitty, look at the sign. Look at it more closely. And I'm looking at it. It's the sign. And he said, the sign doesn't have any holes in it. And I looked at it, and it didn't have any holes. He said, this is a special sign. They made this sign specially. The sign on the highway is still there. It will remain there. It will remain there in honor of Bill and his struggle with Alzheimer's until someone else adopts that portion of the highway. The person at VDOT had this sign made especially for Bill, for him to have in his room. And after I pulled myself together, I wrote a short email, just a short thank you, and said, you have no idea how much it meant to Bill and I to have this sign to remember what he could do. And they just wrote a simple email back and said, you have no idea that someone I love very much is also struggling with Alzheimer's. I want you to know that even the producer who produced the video that you saw lost her grandmother to Alzheimer's, and today her aunt is struggling with stage 3 of the same disease. The Alzheimer's Association of Greater Richmond has offered Bill and I so much. They've offered us friendship, consultation, referrals, connections, and they're helping us to navigate this new road that we find ourselves on. And they're there for us and for so many others who are faced with the same issues and challenges. It's concerning to me now that we have to plan for dementia. I would rather plan for a cure, and I know so would Bill. So we'll keep fighting, and we'll keep working for that. And I encourage you to keep doing whatever it is that you're doing to help ensure this vision, the vision of a world without Alzheimer's. If it's advocating, speak louder. If it's volunteering, raise your hand higher. If it's giving money, dig deeper. We all need to do more of what we're doing. Just don't stop. Just by being here today, you're showing your commitment. But to reach that goal, we must continue on the journey, and we must do more, and we must do it harder and longer, because this is a disease that will take its toll on this generation, the generation of boomers. Every 69 seconds, someone in the United States is diagnosed with Alzheimer's. That means every 69 seconds, there's a new caregiver, and there's another family, and there's another story that starts. Thank you so much for allowing me to share our story and part of our journey with you this morning. And I'd like to introduce to you now another caregiver, Maureen Baxter. Maureen.